tested. We bringing all the answers you requested. You guessed it, it's unrested. Teaching street Japanese, that's unrested.
Hey guys, what's up? I thought I'd mix things up a little bit and give you a quick night scene behind me here when I answer some FAQs. We got some good ones this time. One of my first questions comes from a viewer who asked about learning from different age groups, learning Japanese from different age groups. How does that affect your Japanese? Do you find that if you learn from older people, does your Japanese sound older? And that's a really good point that user brought up. And it's actually very, very true. The age group you learn from is what you'll eventually sound like. Remember the FAQ I talked about where if you learn from a girl, you're gonna start sounding like a girl in Japanese? Well, the same thing goes for age, okay? If you learn from someone very old, you're gonna start using older Japanese. The same would work in reverse for English, actually. Let me give you a little example. When I first got to Japan, there were some free classes at what was called Namba Station. And there was a group of old ladies, very nice, very helpful, and for only 200 yen, which is like $2, super cheap, every month you paid 200 yen and you got 4 free lessons. It was awesome. I thought that was great. So I started going to these lessons all the time, and you know, I started learning Japanese from these people. They were very helpful, very nice, very patient with me. And then when I'd go on the streets and start speaking Japanese, everyone would say, "Scott, why do you sound like a 60-year-old lady when you talk to me?" Yeah, I had pretty much ended up using Oba-chan Japanese. When people would ask me, "Genki desu ka?" I would respond with, "Okage-sama de," okay? For those of you who know that phrase, you know how old that is and how old I probably sounded. Also, I'd say things like "nande ne," and it made me sound like a granny, okay? Not the coolest way to start out when you first get to Japan. So think about that. Different age, different, almost completely different language, honestly, okay? Try to learn the language from someone your age so you sound your own age. Okay, for this next question, it was a good one. Talking about facial expressions in Japan. How do facial expressions differ from those in America? Well, pretty much you're going to have all the same facial expressions. People will have the same ones. But the thing I found most amazing that really actually confused me quite a bit was that people tend to try to keep a satisfactory facial expression no matter what they are talking to you about. Now, what do I mean by that? Let me give you a little story. One night I was walking with my girlfriend, now wife, down a neighborhood close to ours, and we passed a shop in which she knew the owners of the shop. And one of them came out to talk to her, and I didn't know much Japanese yet. I was still pretty bad at it. And pretty much I couldn't make out the conversation too well, but I saw that the guy was smiling the whole time he was talking to her, so I figured he was giving her some good news. Later, after she translated pretty much for me, I found out he had just talked about his wife dying, and one of his daughter's friends had just died too, and he had just gone to both funerals. And what he had pretty much said was, "Yes, recently all the women in my life are dying, and I can't stop crying." He told this entire story with a very bright smile on his face, and some of the best demeanor I've ever seen. So the reason for this is to make the listener feel comfortable. Even when telling a very harsh or even depressing story, a viewer will usually, the person telling the story will usually keep a satisfactory look on their face and not actually let their feelings seep through with facial expression, which somewhat creeped me out and somewhat confused me, but after my girlfriend explained it to me, my wife explained it to me, I started to understand that this was just custom in Japan. But I was still very new to this. I didn't quite understand, so I was very confused. But don't always go by facial expression when someone's telling you a story. One of the very sometimes surprising and harsh lessons to learn in Japan. Alright guys, that's the end of this FAQ. I hope you joined the night lights and city life. If you have any questions about anything I talked about today, as always, feel free to write. I'll try to help you out with anything I can. Until next time, that's JFAQ with Unrested.